Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Temecula City Council meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. We had some lovely prelude music. Don't leave just yet. I see you guys packing up ready to leave from Cadenza School of Music. Hey, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. It's always good and worthwhile to start our meeting off with an invocation. I'm going to turn to our city manager, Aaron Adams, for that. And after he's done, if you would remain standing for our flag salute, and J.R. Richardson will come to the podium and lead us in that. Please rise.
Please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just give you thanks for the privilege and the honor to convene in a public meeting and the freedom associated with that. Lord, I pray for wisdom and discernment for the City Council. I pray for the city staff. I pray for the residents of Temecula. You just continue to have your hand on all that occurs, your blessing on this great city, and govern tonight's agenda and the meeting in front of us. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Now, if you'd all place your right hand over your heart and join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. You may be seated. Madam City Clerk, I have some good-looking folks to my left and to my right, and I'm stuck in the middle. Could you call the roll?
Councilmember Comachero.
I'm here.
Councilmember Edwards.
Here I am.
Councilmember McCracken.
Here.
Councilmember Ron.
Here.
Mayor Nagar.
I am here. Actually, I should have said clowns to the left and jokers to the right. Anyway, all right, we have a number of students here this evening, and by virtue of their government class. So where are my Pumas? Pumas, shout out. Oh, Pumas. All right, good job. Where are my Golden Bears? All right, we got some Golden Bears in the house. Wolfpack.
Oh.
No Wolfpack. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, hey, young people, we love to have you here. So you get to watch your government in action, and hope you enjoy what you see. We have, now's the time for presentations and proclamations. And it's my honor and pleasure to bring up Britney Abshire of Troop 1299. Britney, are you here? Come on up, Britney. Britney has done something very special and very honorable. She has attained the Girl Scout Gold Award, Girl Scouting's highest honor. And it's my pleasure to read a proclamation that the city would like to give to you, Britney. The City of Temecula Certificate of Achievement. The City Council of the City of Temecula commends the outstanding achievement of Britney Abshire of Troop 1299. We congratulate Britney for receiving the Girl Scout Gold Award, which is the highest achievement earned in Girl Scouting. We are proud of Britney's accomplishment and wish her continued success in her promising and bright future. In witness whereof, I have signed it as mayor, and our city clerk has also signed it. I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem to come down and bring this to you, but a hearty, sincere congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Now, Britney, did you have to do something special to qualify?
Well, in order to get your gold award, there's like a whole process of getting a. You have to first, in order to get your gold award, you have to go to a board of women that you present your idea of your project to, and they go, and it takes about a week for them to say either if they accept it or decline your idea for your project. And in order to get your project, it has to be sustainable and help your community as a whole. And so when I presented to them, the first time I presented, they said it was okay. So I went on, and with the help of Aaron Adams and Greg Butler, they both have, I met with meeting with them, and they told me what I needed to do in order to proceed, and they told me about these things called CID funds, and I got those, and it was wonderful. And I went on with various types of fundraising, and finally, with the help of my community, I raised $14,000 for a road sign.
And what kind of sign was it?
It was an electronic speed sign. It was the ones that where when you drive past it says your speed is and it says it and what you should be going. And so I put it up in Duluth where I live because there was a road where there was a dangerous corner. People kept getting in car accidents and it was in my community and I decided, well, I'm tired of hearing all these people dying and getting like hurt and injured. So I decided to help out.
Well, Brittany, you're a fine example for other young ladies. If you had to tell some of the younger girls in scouting some of your experience, what would you share with them tonight?
No matter what, don't doubt yourself. Like, don't doubt anything that you do, and just stay strong. Like through everything. Like you have like your family, your friends, my family, and my boyfriend's family's back there, and they're all supporting me, and they've been there for everything. So just rely on everybody else, and just no matter what, you can do anything.
Excellent. Well, you know what? Is your family here with you?
Yes, they're back there.
Family, come on up. Come on up. It's picture time. Okay.
How are you?
Good.
So while we're waiting for the family to come up, here is your city certificate, right here. And I have for you my very own City of Temecula pin. And these were commissioned for the city's 25th anniversary. That was the year I was mayor, and I'm giving you this because it has a little bling right there.
Oh, I love it.
So I took off my pin, and you're probably not supposed to wear it on your uniform, but I'm going to put it right here anyway.
Thanks. It's beautiful. I love the sparkles.
And yes, we love the bling, and when these are gone, they're gone. So it will be a collector's item someday.
Oh, well, thank you.
And so here is your certificate. And family, how are you?
So, Mayor Pro Tem,
Sure. Here,
go ahead and get that picture.
I should be taking this. I'll take this.
And that's exactly right. We got to have Mom in that picture, so,
Here.
yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Everybody has iPhones. That's really something.
Thank you.
14,000 for a sign for safety. Good for you. And I know
Once
your parents
again-
aren't proud at all.
Congratulations
Thank
to
you.
you. Thank you. All right. Our next presentation is to Helen Hunt Jackson Elementary School for earning the California Gold Ribbon Schools Award. Do we have Principal Jimmy Evans, Christine Ellinger, Jennifer Bullock, Malia Palmier, and Cindy Fine? Are you all here?
Yep.
Okay. Now, I noticed you have some more who are wearing shirts. Do you want to bring them up as well?
Yeah,
All
let's
right,
get
well,
everybody
come
up
on,
here.
Come on, everybody. Come on up. Come on up. All right. I have a proclamation. Everybody come on up that I'm going to read. City of Temecula Certificate of Recognition presented on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of the City of Temecula to Helen Hunt Jackson Elementary School. The California Department of Education recognizes outstanding schools that demonstrate exemplary achievements in implementing state standards in priority areas through the California Gold Ribbon School Program. Schools applied for the award based on a model program or practice their school adopted, incorporating standards-based activities, projects, strategies, and practices that can be replicated by other local educational agencies. Nearly 6,000 elementary schools were eligible to apply, and 780 were honored. Helen Hunt Jackson Elementary School implemented their model of team collaboration for academic excellence, utilizing collaboration, creativity, communication, and critical thinking for students to achieve California standards. We congratulate Helen Hunt Jackson Elementary School on receiving the California Gold Ribbon Schools Award, and we are grateful for their many contributions in preparing the youth in our community to succeed. Signed by yours truly as mayor, endorsed by the City Council. Congratulations to you all. And I'm just informed by the Mayor Pro Tem that you're the first school in the City of Temecula to ever achieve such an award. That's outstanding. So, Principal Evans, you're the man of the hour. Step forward.
Yes. Well, I just want to, I'm actually new to Jackson, but just walking in, we just have an amazing staff. They work collaboratively, smiles on their faces, and it's just amazing to work at a place that every single person on campus is so passionate about what they do, and it's just a great work environment, and those students are just just beaming every day, knowing that their teachers are giving their all every single day in instruction in the classroom. So I'm just honored to be a part of this team, and I just really applaud them for doing an amazing job.
Well, amazing. You make, again, you folks at Helen Hunt make us proud. Thank you. Thank you for representing Temecula so well.
This award actually replaces what we used to know as the California Distinguished School Awards, and since the standards have been updated, they have really kicked this up a notch. And so to qualify for this award, it is almost like going through an accreditation isn't it? So, I mean, this is a really difficult application process, and so it really does take a team effort, huh? So this is not something where you just put your name on an application and mail it in. I mean, this takes, how much time did you spend on it? Anybody?
Yeah, this right here. Kristen.
I would say probably a good solid week for every team member at our school, working to compile all the evidence and to write the application and to work collaboratively. We put on displays for the state to come see, and then we had a day where they actually came in and they came in and saw us in practice and saw that we practice what we preach at Jackson. So.
To add that piece on collaboration, I have to get on my podium and say that Helen Hunt Jackson is also one of the schools in the district that has special education preschool. And an important piece in putting this together was making sure that the preschool was in there and included, and just the effort of our general ed teachers. And I'm going to teary-eye as this special ed teacher to be honored to be on site with Jackson, where so many of the general education staff are embracing our youngest learners, ages 3 to 5. So that was included in there, and it was a big heart for us. So we love Jackson, and we love what they do.
Well, I will comment on that because my son went to pre-K, okay, in your special ed program at Jackson. And I think you just got one heck of a great special ed teacher, Miss Gansko, moved over to your campus as well. So you guys are doing great things. Picture time. I think everybody needs to turn around, okay, and we got... Here we go.
I'm getting in.
Okay, there you go. You're allowed. All right.
Can you see back there, council members? Can you see? Yeah, I see you. Michael McCracken, scoot over to my seat so you're on the big screen. There you go.
There we go.
I love you guys. I'm so proud. Oh yeah, don't forget that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I can't hug all of you. I'm gonna get in trouble if I do. They'll start yelling at me.
Thank you. I'm a hugger too. I got to hug you too.
Oh, that's what I miss about being on the school board. Miss the teachers.
Okay, well, we got a couple more presentations, some celebrations tonight. I have a certificate of recognition to Temecula Dollars for Scholars. Is Lynn Shaver here? Catherine Switvich, I'm going to say that right here when you come. Cheryl Kale, Kelly Centrell, Lisa Flynn, and Becky Glazer. You guys here?
Just the three of us, yes.
Okay. Is one of you Catherine, whose name I messed up?
Yes.
How do you say it?
Switavage.
Switavage. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry.
And Mr. Rivers here too.
Okay. All right. So I have a proclamation to read to you. City of Temecula Certificate of Recognition, presented on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of the City of Temecula to Temecula Dollars for Scholars. Temecula Dollars for Scholars will be celebrating 30 years of providing scholarships for graduating seniors in the Temecula Valley Unified School District. Temecula Dollars for Scholars began in 1987 as Citizens Scholarship Foundation of Temecula Valley. During that time, the organization has presented more than $2.8 million to students and contributed countless hours of volunteer work to assist graduates in achieving their goals. Wow. We congratulate Temecula Dollars for Scholars on their upcoming 30th anniversary. Temecula Dollars for Scholars has made a difference in the lives of countless students and their families, and we are grateful for their commitment to a better future and a brighter, smarter tomorrow. Ladies, congratulations. Unbelievable. $2.8 million. That is unbelievable. Mayor Pro Tem, could you please take that down? And please tell us, how have you lasted 30 years, and what do you plan on in the future?
I think having an amazing board. We've had the support of the Temecula Unified School District along with community donors. But I really think that the majority has been the Temecula Dollars for Scholars board. They take countless hours, and the commitment that they have made. It's a non-volunteer program, and the evening, May 15th, when we do our awards night, I think is our most gratifying evening. And that's when we make that difference, and it really touches home to us.
Wow. Well done. When you can imagine how many people have gone to college with your help.
I think we figured out about almost 9,000 students we've affected in the last 30 years. Yes.
That is amazing. You continue to let us know how we can help you, and please don't go anywhere. Continue to help our students.
We've just begun.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and congratulations
Thank you.
again.
Here you go. Good to see you again. Picture time. See you again. And Mr. Mayor, we think of those 9,000, we've got at least 75, Mr. Ritter, that have come back to teach in our district?
We have 58.
58? Okay, so 58 have come home to teach. So what a great investment in our city, in our community, in our schools. So thanks you guys for continuing to work. And we wore our purple tonight. And you're right, May 15th.
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem, you might as well just stay there. And we have one last final presentation. Always a pleasure to see you at City Hall. Temecula Unified School District Superintendent Tim Ritter, mind coming forward? Because we have a proclamation, and I like this one. Mr. Comachero, do you want to join him down at the podium? You played a big part in this. Thank you. You're very welcome. You'll know why in a second. Last year, as Mayor Mr. Comachero was promoted quite heavily, Temecula has heart because nice matters, and worked very closely with the school district. So it's my honor to read the proclamation. There's a few whereases, so stay with me on this, guys. The City of Temecula Proclamation. Whereas the City of Temecula is in strong support of Temecula Valley Unified School District's quote-unquote because nice matters campaign of kindness and anti-bullying. And whereas because nice matters is an important message to be addressed by all students in Temecula, as well as the citizenry at large, everyone should make an effort to be nice to one another. And whereas because nice matters includes anti-bullying component that is critical to the excellent curriculum offered at TVUSD, because no child should ever have to go to school preoccupied with worries of intimidation, fear, and bullying. And all Temecula students who witness another being victimized or bullied should immediately report it. And whereas the TVUSD signature colors to raise awareness of the Because Nice Matters campaign that started at Great Oak High School, implemented district-wide over several years, are purple with black to symbolize the colors of internal bruising that occurs when someone is bullied. And whereas the last full week of September each year is officially called Because Nice Matters in Temecula Week, students are asked to wear purple with black, showing that being nice matters and to take a stand against bullying. On Friday of that week, everyone is asked to wear white to symbolize a new beginning or fresh start in treating people with respect and kindness. And whereas this collaboration between the city and school district sends a powerful message throughout Temecula in terms of the notion that nice does matter, not only among our student population, but among citizens citywide. Now, therefore, I, Michael S. Nagar, on behalf of the City Council, but also complimenting you, Councilman Comachero, and you as well, Superintendent Ritter, hereby proclaim the week of September 26th to be Because Nice Matters in Temecula Week. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Tim. You know, I want to make sure we're very clear. We, at the city, going back last January, we started thinking about instituting a program that we called Temecula Has Heart. And when we realized that the school district had their own program called Because Nice Matters, we realized that, one, we were on the same page, and two, we could help each other to get that message out to a broader audience. And Tim, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your cooperation with us. I hope we helped you, but I know you certainly helped us. And it was one of the most rewarding programs we've had in the city. So thank you so much, and please convey that message back to all concerned. I appreciate it.
Good job, Mr. Mayor. You want to speak? Want to speak?
I just want to,
Please,
I would just,
please.
I would just like to say thank you, the City Council, Commissioners, City staff. It is an honor to be here tonight because this is something very special to our organization because it's become a part of our cultural fabric. And then to have that work, that message, that really critical message about how we treat one another with dignity and respect, to be embraced by our city and have it become a part of who we are as Temecula is really a great honor. Not just for the district, not just for the individuals that started this program, but I think it speaks volumes to our community. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for your support in regards to this and what a difference it makes. And you know, I was conflicted tonight, wasn't sure if I should go with red or purple as I stood in my closet trying to figure out. I'm glad I chose purple. It was obviously the right choice tonight. But like I said, last year and now again this year with the collaborative partnership that we have with the city in regards to this effort, I think it truly makes a difference. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
We love you, Tim.
Well, that takes us to the public comment portion of our meeting. Madam City Clerk, before I read the rules, do we have public comment tonight?
Have one public comment.
So we have to read the rules. So just bear with me. Public comments. A total of 30 minutes is provided for members of the public to address the City Council on items that appear within the consent calendar or a matter not listed on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If the speaker chooses to address the City Council on an item listed on the consent calendar or a matter not listed on the agenda, a request to speak form may be filled out and filed with the City Clerk prior to the City Council addressing public comments and the consent calendar. Once a speaker is called to speak, please come forward and state your name for the record. For all public hearing or council business items on the agenda, a request to speak form may be filed with the City Clerk prior to the City Council addressing that item. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes on those items. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the first speaker or the only speaker?
Our one and only speaker is Mr. Wayne Hall.
So Wayne, I read all those rules for you. Make it good, okay? All right. All right. You always do.
I had the honor of being thrown out of a city council meeting by Pat Birdsall, so I learned my lesson.
Really? I didn't know that.
There's I'm for Prop S. I was reading in the local newspaper, the Press Enterprise, and there was a young man that omitted to put his name to the article. But basically, he wanted to know why these cities were asking for an increase in sales tax. And something that kind of bothered me was that there's a list here of reasons why I'm for Prop S, but if you look at the asterisk there, it says over 10 years, the city councils contained costs by reducing staff. That's a little hard. By how many? 52. That's 25% of the city staff no longer work here. Now, I was a little appalled at that, but then my wife said, you know, if they said the same thing about a school, such as a school that was represented here, oh, people would be upset. And I'm upset. 52 people from this City Hall staff who put on the parade, fantastic. Theater nights, you name it, we got it here in Temecula. That's what makes Temecula so good. But we've lost 52 people because we're trying to keep the money spending down to stay in, and Temecula has always been in the black. We've never been in the red. I'm asking my fellow residents of Temecula, please vote for Prop S. Keep Temecula the way it is, the place where I call home. At one time, 4 different members of my family, my mother, my daughter, my granddaughter, and hopefully your family will say that Temecula is the greatest place on earth. And I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. And I'm proud to be a Temeculanan, and I'm willing to pay for it if I have to. 1%, I'm 100% behind it. And other than that, look on the city website. There's all sorts of stuff on there. I'm not very articulate. I've never been that good of a speaker, more of a yeller, but needless to say, please read it and find out what the city needs, and do what you can, because this is your home as well as mine, and I'm proud of Temecula. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. And that's the only public speaker. Okay, very good. We'll move to city council reports. See if my colleagues get in the queue.
I do.
Mayor Pro Tem Edwards.
Thank you, sir. I would just like to give kudos to Dr. Charles Walker and everybody in that department for the college and career fair that took place at the Promenade Mall on Saturday. And we had 215 schools represented. We filled up both floors of the Promenade Mall. This is the first year that we took up the first floor as well as the second floor. And I think in a normal year, we estimate that we have 7,000 students and their families or parents come through the mall. And so this year, I'm guessing that it was probably closer to 8,000 students come through to visit the colleges. And if you talk to the representatives from the colleges, and we had 3 that were here from Europe this year, so it's now the International College Fair. They said that our students don't just show up at their booths and take the free stuff, you know, the candy bars or the gum and the brochures. They come with a list of questions, and they really put those college representatives through their paces. They ask about the courses. They ask how long it will take for them to get through the courses that they need for their particular degree. And most of the schools, you'd think they would know by now, but they run out of materials long before the end of the day. So to Dr. Charles Walker and all of his helpers, thank you once again for a tremendous college and career fair. And we're told that it's the largest one in the nation. And we're told that by people who do this regularly every weekend representing the colleges. So we think it's the best one. And if you had, did anybody go? Were any of you there? Well, did you think it was fantastic? Yes, they're nodding their heads, and he works very hard on it. This is the 8th annual, and Michael McCracken was there also. So thank you for going, and we hope it was of value to you, and good luck in your pursuit of your higher educations. And so that's all I have, except to say that we know that the health fair was a screaming success also on Saturday morning. So thank you, Mr. Hawkins. And I don't know, are you going to talk about the health fair?
I'm going to let him.
Well, is anybody going to talk about the health fair?
Talk about it later.
Okay, talk about it later. So, thank you.
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
Thank you. Councilmember McCracken.
Thank you, Mayor Nagar. I just want to say it's been a busy weekend, but 2 things I want to highlight. I got a chance to attend the Altera Park Alzheimer's End, walked in Alzheimer's, and I still feel the walk, by the way. It was a beautiful setting, nice atmosphere. Got a chance to meet a lot of great people. During my presentation of the award from the city council to the event coordinators, I made the comment that I know of no one who's suffering from Alzheimer's, but when that day was done, I met about 15 to 20 people that shared their story with me. But just to show you how well the city is connected, after that event, I want to present an award to the Harem Freemasons Award. And a young lady come up to me and she mentioned that her husband was suffering from Alzheimer's, and she liked the fact that the city gets involved with things like that. You attend one event with good intentions and it overflows to other things. So I just want to say to that lady that came and spoke to me, God bless you, and that's all I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. Is that it? All right. No one else is in the queue, so we'll move to what's known as the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no discussion on these items unless members of the City Council request specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Item 1 is to waive the reading of standard ordinances and resolutions. 2, approve the action minutes of September 13, 2016. 3, approve the list of demands, the checks the city writes. 4, approve the First Amendment to the agreement for consultant services with Michael Baker International for an environmental initial study for Art Gaitan's Mexican Cafe. 5, approve an agreement for consultant services with Environmental Science Associates for the preparation of a supplemental environmental impact report for the proposed Old Town Boutique Hotel. 6, approve the memorandum of understanding with the Riverside County Flood Control District and Frontier Communications to place a Frontier Communications utility line within city-owned property. 7, receive and file temporary street closures for 2016 Autumn Fest events. I will entertain a motion.
Move consent.
Second.
That was moved by Councilmember Comachero, seconded by Councilmember Ron. Please cast your vote. And that passes 5-0. At this time, I'm going to recess the Temecula City Council meeting in favor of the Temecula Community Services District meeting and President Jeff Comachero.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to call this meeting of the Temecula Community Services District to order. Madam Clerk, we are all here tonight. Do we have any public comment under this portion?
We do not, sir.
Seeing none, we'll waive the reading of the rules. And that takes us to one item on the consent calendar, consideration of approval of the action minutes of September 13th, 2016.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your vote. That motion does carry unanimously. Mr. Hawkins, are you going to talk to us about the health fair?
Actually, I believe I'm going to wait until our Commissioner Schwenk talks about
Great.
that, but I have a couple other items.
Sure.
Well, the Temecula Community Services Department invites area artists to participate in the 9th Annual Ralph Love Plein Air Competition from Saturday, October 1st through Thursday, October 6th. Plein air artists are invited to paint at 5 different locations around the city during the competition. Meet and greet the artists at the Friday, October 7th reception from 6 to 7 p.m. in the gallery at the Merc. Next, the Temecula Valley Museum will unveil a new exhibit, Cloth and Paper, at an artist reception on Saturday, October 1st from 1 to 3 p.m. Guests and visitors enjoying the 17th Annual Old Town Temecula Outdoor Quilt Show are invited to visit the museum for refreshments and to join Allison Allen as she offers insights behind her creative quilts and three-dimensional textiles. Now, speaking of the museum, please mark your calendar for Wednesday, October 12th at the Chapel of Memories as the Temecula Valley Museum Board presents a dynamic topic as part of their local politics series, the formation of Riverside County, with guest speaker and renowned historian and author, Steve Leck. If that name sounds familiar, Steve has been a docent at the historic Mission Inn for over 25 years and is chair of the County Historical Commission and Riverside Cultural Heritage Board. And by the way, the Old Town Temecula Community Theater turns 11 years old on Tuesday, October 4th. We are very grateful to all the talented artists, dedicated staff, and generous volunteers for creating and shaping Temecula's vibrant culture. Temecula Presents 2016-17 Dance Series welcomes New York-based Parsons Dance on Saturday, October 1st at 8 p.m. Parsons will teach a free master dance class in the theater's dance studio on Saturday at 1 o'clock from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And finally, just a quick thank you to our various friends groups. A lot has been discussed about what we do as a department, but behind the scenes, we have a tremendous friends groups, and we just want to thank them, from the Temecula Children's Museum, Temecula Libraries, and Temecula Valley Museum, just for their unwavering support in the years of dedicated service. We truly appreciate each and everything that they do. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. General Manager, got anything for us tonight?
Nothing further.
Okay, any board member reports? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn to the next meeting of October 11th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll stand adjourned.
At this time, I'm going to reconvene the Temecula City Council meeting, public hearing portion of our evening. There's some rules that we need to read. Any person may submit written comments to the City Council before a public hearing, or may appear and be heard in support of or in opposition to the approval of the projects at the time of the hearing. If you challenge any of the projects in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the city clerk at or prior to the public hearing. Item 9 on the agenda, approve the assessment of fair housing for the Community Development Block Grant Program. Can we have a staff report?
Good evening, Mayor Nagar and members of the council. Tonight I am here to present the draft assessment of fair housing for the city's Community Development Block Grant Program. First, let me provide a brief overview of the presentation tonight. Why do we need an assessment of fair housing? What is an assessment of fair housing? How is the city doing? Then I'm going to go on and discuss our fair housing goals, our public outreach process, the next steps, and then lastly, the recommendation. So, why does the city need to complete an assessment of fair housing? The Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing because of race, color, religion, sex, familial status, national origin, or disability. The act requires that the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, affirmatively furthers fair housing. HUD's duty to affirmatively further fair housing results in meaningful actions that address disparities in housing and access to opportunity, transform areas of poverty, and comply with civil rights and fair housing laws. As an entitlement community that receives federal funding directly from HUD, the City of Temecula is also obligated to affirmatively further fair housing. In July 2015, HUD adopted a final rule that updated obligations for grantees to set locally determined fair housing priorities through the new Assessment of Fair Housing, or AFH. HUD provided data on patterns of integration, poverty, housing needs, and disparities in access to opportunity. So what exactly is an assessment of fair housing? The new process, which replaces the analysis of impediments, requires CDBG participants to analyze data and engage the community in fair housing planning, identify certain types of fair housing issues, identify contributing factors for each issue, set fair housing goals, integrate the goals and priorities into CDBG plans, and certify that the city will take meaningful and realistic actions to further these goals. So how is the city doing? Since the adoption of the Consolidated Plan, the city has been very successful at affirmatively furthering fair housing and access to opportunity. Let me run through just some of the accomplishments during the current Consolidated Plan cycle, which began in 2012. With CDBG funding, the city has promoted fair housing and equal access to opportunity in a number of ways. 13 unique nonprofit service providers were funded. Almost 1,000 youth and families at risk of violence have been served. Over 100 youth have been assisted in after-school programs. Over 450 youth and single mothers have been supported through education and childcare. 92 youth have been provided with job training. Over 2,000 people have been given food through several food pantries. There's more. 23 individuals have been provided emergency or transitional shelter. 5 families have been assisted with low-cost solar projects. 8 families have been assisted with critical home repairs. 3 capital improvement projects have been funded, including the Temecula Community Center, Sam Hicks Park, and the Old Town sidewalks. and almost 2,000 landlords and tenants have been provided fair housing education. Outside of CDBG funding, the city has furthered fair housing and access to opportunity through 83 affordable housing units constructed, 1 housing element updated, 51 awards to nonprofits through community services funding, 20 High Hopes annual events for adults with special needs, over 2,000 participants in our High Hopes programs each year, and $12.4 million of bond proceeds unfrozen to spend on affordable housing. So needless to say, we are doing a great job, and the city is really setting the bar high. Although the city has numerous accomplishments and the community feedback was overwhelmingly positive, there are several ways where we can continue to improve. HUD requires the city to identify potential contributing factors, which may create, contribute to, perpetuate, or increase the severity of a fair housing issue. Community feedback and data analysis have identified several fair housing contributing factors, including the availability of affordable housing, increased demand of affordable housing with supportive services for special needs populations, lack of resources for fair housing agencies and organizations, distance from social services, architectural barriers for persons with disabilities, demand for public transportation, and proximity of the I-15 freeway affecting the environmental health of some neighborhoods. HUD requires that the city establish goals to overcome each identified contributing factor. These goals must then be incorporated into the consolidated plan and annual action plans. Staff has identified 9 goals with accompanying action items to minimize the contributing factors. The city is proactive on affirmatively furthering fair housing, and the action items listed in the Assessment of Fair Housing report have already been identified in the housing element, annual operating budgets, capital improvement program budgets, or other adopted documents. The goals we have identified are increase the stock of affordable housing in the city, partner with local organizations for the provision of services to address homelessness, increase homeownership opportunities in the city, increase accessibility to public facilities, support the Fair Housing Council on education on fair housing laws, preserve affordable rental housing at risk of converting to market rate, increase housing choices for those with special needs and disabilities, increase access and usage of public transportation, and improve the environmental health of neighborhoods. Public outreach. In accordance with HUD requirements, the city conducted a robust public outreach effort, reaching a wide variety of community members, resulting in meaningful feedback that is incorporated into the document. Efforts included the distribution of resident and stakeholder surveys for unfair housing needs, consultation with 18 nonprofit and religious organizations. The city conducted 2 public hearings, one on June 28th and a second one this evening. 3 community workshops were held, 2 on June 29th and a third on July 30th. And the draft assessment was available for public review between August 27th and September 27th, today. Next steps. The Assessment of Fair Housing is due to HUD by October 4th. A HUD-accepted AFH is a prerequisite for the approval of a consolidated plan, and the consolidated plan is due to HUD on May 17th, 2017. With that, staff recommends that the City Council approve a resolution approving the Assessment of Fair Housing and authorizing staff to submit the assessment to HUD. That concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn, for a thorough and concise presentations. Are there any questions of staff? Okay, no questions. Seeing how this is a public hearing, I will officially open the public hearing. Madam City Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Mr. Mayor, we do not have any public
Okay,
comment.
so at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing and any council discussion. Then I'll accept a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember McCracken, a second by Councilmember Ron. Please cast your vote. And that item carries 5-0. Thank you very much. We'll move to the council business section of our agenda. Item 10, appoint members to the Community Services Commission and the Public Traffic Safety Commission. Let's take item 10. Let's see. Go ahead, Madam City Clerk. Why don't you give us a staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On October 10th, 2016, there will be 2 vacancies on the Community Services Commission and 2 vacancies on the Public Traffic Safety Commission. The application period for both ran from August 10th to September 9th, 2016. 8 Community Services Commission applications were forwarded to the subcommittee of Mayor Nagar and Councilmember McCracken. 6 Public Traffic Safety Commission applications were forwarded to the subcommittee of Mayor Nagar and Mayor Pro Tem Edwards. The subcommittees are recommending that the City Council appoint Eric Levine and Eric Willis to the Community Services Commission, and James J.R. Richardson and Bradley Sullivan to the Public Traffic Safety Commission. These appointments will expire on October 10th, 2019. And unless there are any further questions, that concludes staff's report.
Thank you. Are there any requests to speak on that item?
There are none.
So we'll move into either questions or discussion. Then I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Councilmember.
before we move on to the motion, I just want to say the position you're putting in for, it is one of the best you could ever do for the city as far as learning the process and working your way up. So for all those that applied, I congratulate you for wanting to get involved with the city. So appreciate the effort. So move the item.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kraken, second by Mayor Pro Tem Edwards. I'll add my 2 cents. You know, we had a lot of good applications, and it's always a pleasure to look through them. I myself, going back in the early 90s, applied over 12 different times. I think Bradley Sullivan, I think, Brad, you must have applied like 5 or 6 times already to be on a commission. And so if you didn't get a nod the first time around, you got to keep that application coming. And, you know, I just want to compliment Brad because just because he didn't get appointed, it didn't stop him from serving. He ended up serving on the HOA as president, correct, of the Wolf Creek HOA, and just really dove in and literally does good work down there on the south part of town. So I just wanted to encourage everybody who applied and didn't get the nod. So with that, please cast your vote. So the 3 who got reappointed, congratulations. And to you, Brad, welcome to the Public Traffic Safety Commission. Congratulations to you. All right. Item number 11 on City Council business, receive and file preliminary design concepts for Founders Square and a memorial in honor of Jimmy Moore. And you know what, before we start, I just want to acknowledge we have the good and lovely Peg Moore from our first City Council meeting. Peg, always a pleasure to see you. And just, do you mind standing up real quick? Just so everybody can see you. And I'm sorry if I, there you go. Now, and what's your daughter's name? Marcia Kane. Marcia, welcome, Marcia. Good to see you as well. So, can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, back in August, the City Council engaged in a robust discussion in an effort to identify and create a fitting tribute to honor our beloved Jimmy Moore. Although TCSD is presenting this item tonight, every department from the City Manager's Office to Public Works heard you loud and clear. This effort is for Jimmy, and it should truly be done the Temecula way. So with that, our Senior Management Analyst, Erica Russo, will be presenting tonight's item. Erica?
Thank you, Kevin. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. As Kevin noted in the August 9th Council meeting, you asked staff to prepare some design concepts for a memorial to honor Jimmy Moore's legacy in the city of Temecula. We began this process by really listening to what everyone had to say about Jimmy as they reminisced about his legacy, and some key themes emerged. Jimmy was raised by an immigrant grandfather. His life truly embodied the American dream ideals of values of discipline and hard work. He was a committed patriot and decorated veteran, awarded both the Bronze Star and the Gallantry Cross for his service in Vietnam. He was known throughout the community as a lifelong learner and a patron of the arts. He earned the title the Father of Temecula when he led the city's incorporation efforts. Perhaps most importantly, through his legacy of service, Jimmy was known as truly being a man for others. We also listened closely to what each of you had to say in your own words about Jimmy and his legacy. Mayor Nagar, as you reflected on Jimmy's outsized impact on the parks and services we currently offer our youth, you said, "None of these kids knows Jimmy today, but they enjoy a piece of his legacy every day." Mayor Pro Tem Edwards, you beautifully paid homage to both Jimmy and Peg when you said, "The power of one was two. Jimmy and Peg were a leadership unit." You also hope that every TVUSD student should know the history of Temecula's founding parents. Councilmember Comerchero, you reminded us that we were so fortunate to be blessed by early leaders with great vision and wisdom who laid the foundation for our city. Councilmember Ron, you were impressed by the breadth of Jimmy's impact, saying, "It's rare that you can tell where a community's foundation is. Any one of Jimmy's accomplishments is a legacy event. The question I ask myself is, do I have the stamina to achieve even half of what Jimmy did?" And finally, Councilmember McCracken, you read the poem Heroes Unaware, and then you said, "Every time a kid goes to a park, every parade someone watches, that was Jimmy. I'd like to see a bench somewhere in the city where people could sit and remember him." Based on your input, we then identified some specific design elements to be included in the Memorial and Founders Square. The area in front of the Civic Center would be designated Founders Square. This space should have the capacity to honor other city figures in the future. Within Founders Square, there would be a specific memorial area dedicated to Jimmy Moore. And that memorial should honor his military and his community service, and serve as a way to educate visitors to the city about the history of Temecula. To develop the renderings that you're about to see, we worked with graphic designer Nick Tierce. His name might sound familiar because he has also designed several award-winning marketing campaigns for the theater, and he also filmed and edited the city's award-winning oral history project, World War II Remembrances from Temecula Veterans. In fact, he had actually interviewed Jimmy to be included in a future oral history of those who served in Korea and Vietnam. We began by assessing the space in front of the Civic Center and identifying potential locations and dimensions for future memorials. We then developed a key concept with bronze medallions embedded in the square that could direct visitors to other memorials located around the square. And then we turned our attention to what the Assistant City Manager has dubbed our memorial design concepts. Here you'll see the first design concept. This one incorporates a history timeline. You'll see there embedded bronze plaques that guide the visitor up the ramp to the top, where there are a couple of different locations for a potential memorial. When we put this together, we wanted to design something that would integrate seamlessly into the existing aesthetic and architecture, and we chose a design which broadly echoes what you see in front of Ronald H. Roberts Temecula Public Library. At the top of the ramp, there are two obvious locations where one could situate a memorial. The first one is the planter bed you see directly at the top, and the other would be at the base of the American flag to the left. The first concept for a specific memorial we developed was a flag theme to honor Jimmy's patriotism and service, and flanks the base of the American flag. This design received some initial positive reviews. However, when it was presented to the Community Services Commission, all 4 commissioners who saw it felt that it was too literal an interpretation of the flag. And so we were asked to provide an alternate design, which you'll see here. In this design, we used a more symbolic usage of the stars and stripes while keeping the basic placement at the base of the American flag to underscore his service to his country. Also, it has space for biographical or historical information as well as an image of Jimmy's face. This is a more classic monument. This is a granite monument with a bronze plaque attached, similar in that it can provide biographical or historical data as well as an image. And here you'll see 2 different concepts for benches. These memorial benches were designed in mind with what Councilmember McCracken had suggested. They can be located, you'll notice the one at the upper left is a conventional bench design paired with a monument, and the one in the lower right is a 90-degree bench. Either one could be paired with a monument or other form of memorial, and it echoes the concept of service and presence remaining here in the community. Of course, multiple elements could be combined. In this composite, you'll see the timeline paired with the 90-degree bench at the top of the ramp, and if you look closely at the base of the American flagpole on the left, you can kind of make out the American flag memorial. It's foreshortened, so it's sort of hard to make out there. Utilizing multiple elements underscores the breadth and depth of Jimmy's legacy within the community and also provides maximum flexibility for stakeholder input. We developed 2 alternate concepts for the timeline. So the first one, as you saw, was the embedded plaques in the ramp going up to the memorial. We also developed these two, which utilize the retaining walls on either side of Founders Square. The one on the right was our first design. This embeds timeline plaques in the surface of the retaining wall. And again, we received some input from the Community Services Commission, who felt that since people tend to sit on the wall, the timeline might be obscured. So then we developed the one you'll see on the left, where those plaques are mounted vertically behind the retaining wall. The interesting thing with this design is that you can flank both sides of Founders Square. You can present a converging timeline or narrative, which also echoes the architecture you see in our fountain, where you see the symbolic creeks, the Murrieta and Temecula Creek, converging to form the Santa Margarita River. Finally, there were some other opportunities identified to honor Jimmy's legacy and incorporate it into the city's narrative. For instance, renaming Mercedes Street in honor of Jimmy Moore, creating a self-guided walking tour that would lead from Founders Square throughout Old Town and coming back to the memorial. To underscore the component of education and Jimmy's commitment to education, we discussed the development of an interactive app or kiosk, which could be paired with the Temecula Valley Museum, and could also be developed in collaboration with TVUSD, potentially being a source for field trips in the future for students. Additionally, the history of Temecula could be integrated into a coloring book or story developed in conjunction with the Temecula Valley Museum and Historical Society. And finally, Councilmember Comerchero, you had mentioned in passing wanting to see an artist rendering of Jimmy in the Speaker's Well and Council chambers, because you said that's where so many of us would remember him best. I'd like to close with a quote that his daughter Marcia shared at his memorial service. She said that Jimmy taught her to look beyond what is to what could be and do everything you can to bring it about. Thank you for your time. I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Comachero.
Just a quick one. Peg, have you provided input?
Could somebody bring her mic?
Yeah,
Take
can we get
her
a handheld
microphone.
mic? Peg, the only reason I ask, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I think so much of what we decide here tonight is going to be what you want also.
Hey, I'm just absolutely overwhelmed. It is beautiful. And I thank you, each and every one of you, for having had input into it all. It just means so much. I also want to thank all of the other members of the community who have had as much input as Jimmy did, as much love as he had in the city. And I just appreciate every bit of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peg. That's all.
Okay. Well, we're still at questions. Any questions? I'll go ahead and start.
What are next steps, Mr.
Go ahead.
Mayor?
Well, go ahead. Councilmember McCracken.
Could you bring this slide up again where the bench that was next to the flagpole with the concrete?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a good one. And I like the fact that although people may sit on the concrete curves, I think that's a good format to have. It seems like it's user-friendly. And the other one kind of sticks out and kind of, what am I trying to say, Jeff? It
I don't know. What are you asking me for?
protrudes, yeah, it protrudes. I like the other one because it's embedded in the concrete. It kind of blends in with it a little bit better. The idea of this bench is not that big. It's not, I'm trying to speak here. It's not something that should be huge, but just big enough to know that it's a bench and know that it represents pretty much one person. So I like the idea for that one. So, I mean, these are great designs. I'm overwhelmed and impressed how well this came out. So I think anyone that we decide on is already a winner, but I just think it's awesome.
So how will we proceed, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I think everybody can just sort of offer their opinion, and then we see where consensus lies. Councilmember Comachero.
I agree 100% with Mac. I think the one you selected as your first choice, if that's what I heard. Certainly, what I like about it is it incorporates the bench, which I think was a very good idea. And the brass plaque embedded in granite is just so classic and I think very appropriate for Jimmy's memory. So
that's the one in the upper left-hand
corner,
right?
the upper left. But honestly, I could live with all of them. I think they're all very well done.
Councilmember Ron, did you want to weigh in?
Just that I remember that meeting well. But I have to say, I one of the comments I made was, I'm no artist, but I know when you see something that's special and you know what it looks like, and you guys really nailed it. I have to say the timeline and walk
Oh, I love
up the
that.
pathway is just just such a fantastic concept, and being able to end with the bench and the memorial is just a great idea. So kudos. I mean, you really thankfully are able to take I think our unarticulated ideas and put them into something that really captures, I think, what we were trying to achieve. So thank you, and all those that worked on this is wonderful.
As Kevin said, it was truly a team effort. Every department really was committed to working on this. And in community services, we get the opportunity to work on a lot of fun projects, but to work on one this meaningful was really a wonderful opportunity.
Mr. Mayor, I might, Erica or Commissioner Schwenk, this did go through the Community Services Commission, and I don't know if they had a strong opinion or a strong recommendation of those options that anything you wanted to share too.
Go ahead.
Sure, I will have to defer any comments on that meeting because I had to immediately leave the dais with a kidney stone. So maybe I'll defer to Kevin and let him explain how the meeting went down.
No, I think as Erica pointed out, there was just discussion about the flag and how that was being interpreted. But like all of you, there was just overwhelming just support for all the concepts, and wanted to just share that this was being brought forward with their full support and concurrence in whatever you decide. So they provided their input, which was reflected, but it's pretty much, I think, your colleagues just said whatever the council decides, they support it. Just the mere fact that we were doing this, they were just really privileged and honored.
A couple of thoughts I had. If you can put the exhibit back up. First, the one that you and Councilmember Comachero and McCracken pointed out, I like that. A couple of thoughts as we begin to do Founders Square. There's a beauty about the Civic Center, and I think we have to be careful that we don't overpopulate it with things and stuff. There's a class to it, or a classiness, I should say, and I think the one that you picked out depicts that. We also have to consider that we'll be adding to this as time goes by. So we have to visualize in our mind what Founders Square looks like with benches and or granite markers and how that lays out. And I think it needs to lay out in a reflective but non-overwhelming fashion. That's kind of how I view it. I think the timeline is good, but let's say an example of an overwhelming fashion is if you can go back, you had the timeline that actually protruded vertically like that. That screams at you, in just my opinion. You're really going to focus on it when without it there's a whole beauty about the Civic Center and the whole building that captures your beauty. This would capture your attention. The embeddedness on the right, that's a good idea. I like some of the things that you did with the central point, the location in the middle of the square that led you in different directions. That's kind of cool. Maybe I don't know how that would evolve, and I mean that has a lot of potential right there. I could see, in one direction you head off maybe toward the military, in one direction you head off toward, council servants. Maybe in another direction you have significant staff members who, lent their, lent their lives to Temecula's cause, and on and on and on. I mean, there's so much potential there. Anyway, those are just some of the ideas. I think we're getting a consensus. How do we proceed? Are we approving a master plan? Is that the idea, Mr. City Manager? Do we just want to decide on Jimmy in particular right now?
If we could get a little more direction in terms of one concept or a combination of concepts this evening, I think that would help us to go back and basically we could begin work on this. And then before any sort of construction breaks ground, we'd have a final design that the council could approve. But if we can just get some specific direction on what elements you're in love with, and as consensus from the full council, I think we can run with it. And then before we, like I said, we break ground or anything like that, we'd come back one final time and just, we captured it, good, we'll go, and then we make it happen.
So Marcia and Peg, get this. Even, God bless him, even in his passing, Jimmy is controlling what happens at Temecula. Okay, you got this. Okay, you know. So I want you to rest assured, we're doing this memorial because we loved your husband, we loved your dad. Okay, so now we're just doing it Jimmy style. Okay, so I kind of lent my ideas, Mayor Pro Tem Edwards.
I think a good way to proceed is to, I think we all agreed that we liked the bench and the bronze plaque with Jimmy's likeness and some words memorializing his history and his contributions on the granite, on the stone. And then we had two options for other places to display. We had the last one that we just saw around the square itself, where we can put the general plaques on the walls, and those are not very high walls along the sides. And I think our initial conversations or ideas that I shared with Aaron were that Jimmy's original plaque and eventually Peg's will have their likenesses on them, but plaques that follow up not necessarily have a likeness on them. They may just have words as the follow-up plaques, and we can discuss that later. But I think the side walls provide an excellent place to display future presentations by other people who have contributed. But I like your suggestion of denoting, we can denote what type of contribution, if you want to, categories, or we can just put plaques along the walls without saying anything, and the explanation on the plaque will denote who the person was and what the contribution was. I think it's up to us to decide whether we want to have a place for staff, a place for community.
Thank you, Councilmember Comachero.
I'm sorry, were you done?
Were you done?
Oh, yeah.
I think we need to be very sensitive to the comment that you made about
Agreed.
Simple maybe is
Mhm.
better, and the
Mhm.
more we put, the less you see, and the more it detracts from the building and the facility itself. I personally, I think we should just pick one and go with it. I think we mostly settled on the one we like, although we can go a different way. That's fine with me. But I would just do that, and then for subsequent honorees, we can just duplicate the granite and the plaque and do it all around the square, and there should be plenty of room for an awful lot of people to honor over the years. And I don't know how many benches we want to put. I'm not sure we need a bench for everybody. Maybe what we want to do is, on the bench we see here, is to put the plaque dedicated to Jimmy on, let's say, the left-hand side, which would be right next to his monument, and then have a second plaque somewhere down the road. Peg would be a natural, on the right-hand side, and so that we only have half the number of benches we need to honor everybody, but we have a plaque and a granite monument for everybody. So I just think that's more tasteful. I'm really open. I think this is great, and I don't mean to say we have to do what I'm suggesting, but
But if I can expand on that, I think I like the timeline idea, but I think it may be too much. I just think it may be too much in the Civic Center. I like the very demure, as you just described. I don't want to call it nondescript, but simple. Okay, something simple, but classy. Because as time goes by, there'll be others that will add to it. And that in of itself is going to give, is going to tell a story of some sort. Now, if they want to somehow decide how it lays out, it's hard because we don't know when people will enter into this, but maybe you can designate, I don't know, again, it was just my idea. You got council members, you got staff members, you got citizens, I don't know if you need to depict that.
So are you thinking a stone and a plaque and a bench for every person?
No, you couldn't
bench
get all
for every
that.
2 people, but a stone and a plaque for everybody.
I would be cautious in.
Let's clarify. How many Jimmy Moores are there out there?
Well, I don't know.
I don't think we're talking about this honor in the same way we might talk about the Wall of Honor or other things. This is a very, very special honor. And who knows? But I mean, I wouldn't see more than half a dozen people over the next 50 years.
But remember, we are one council. We don't know what another council is going to do.
Well, maybe well, I don't want to dictate what another council is going to do, but if
Yeah.
we have restricted space, I think we have dictated. So. I'm open.
I just
I'm
want to
not
make sure it
arguing the
doesn't,
point.
you know, we don't want it to, depending, I mean, in a number of years down the road, maybe 20 or 30 years down the road, I don't want it to look like a cemetery, as it were. I want it to look like, you know, someplace, well, almost like the letters home, where we have the nice, just the plaques. And I wanted Jimmy's to really stand out and be special, because he was the original founding father.
If I may.
Yes, please, and then Councilmember
I
McCracken.
certainly agree with Jimmy's special nature and who he was, but I fear that 10 years from now, a council is going to sit here and say, yeah, but John
So-and-so,
Doe,
and that's okay.
best ever. And so I don't, you know, I think if we're going to honor people with this, at least for now, the highest honor we're bestowing, I think it should be an honor of equals, whoever those people are down the road.
Okay.
Well, Councilmember McCracken, go ahead. And then
Yes, can you go back to my favorite slide, please? Yeah. So what I envision is the granite with Jimmy's image and words, and the bench. The bench would represent not just one person, but all. It'd be one category. Maybe call it Heroes Unaware. We'll give it a title. But instead of having one for each person, not knowing how many people they're going to be, it would represent anyone that follows behind. So to identify Jimmy, I envision the granite rock with his image on there. An actual bench will stand for that category of people, whoever they may be. Not very many Jimmys. And then as far as the timeline, I'm thinking about the youth, the little kids, you know, something they can look at and kind of be a part of. So maybe on the floor here, like we have here. So
I love the timeline.
the one that stands up on the wall, that like a backrest, I think that would distract from the Civic Center and the beauty of it. But the ones on the floor here, I feel that, you know, there's something all ages can appreciate, little kids, you know, and then the other ones will appreciate. So,
You know,
Dr. Ron.
it occurs to me that at the fountain represents, you know, that sort of portion of the larger cultural legacy and long standing history of the city of Temecula. And that timeline, you know, I could see, because you sort of, where do you start and stop a timeline, right? I mean, time is still going to continue, but starting with that sort of cultural legacy and that discussion of, you know, I like the idea of, you know, let's keep our history alive, because a lot of people, you know, who live here, and especially those who move here, don't know that. And so this gives us an opportunity to say, you know, hey, turn around, you know, and behind you is the, you know, basket that represents, you know, this piece of cultural history, and then walk them through the timeline to, you know, at the end, it's the creation of, you know, City Hall and where you are today, and then that bench at the top is sort of the legacy of the founding fathers of, you know, and Jimmy's memorial, and then you end it there, because then you don't have to keep adding in, you know, and in 2020, you know, we don't run into that issue, and it tells a nice, you know, discrete story that really, you know, when you had the slide up about, you know, getting the museum engaged and you know, the children and so forth, I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and it's a legacy that we can't forget, and memorializing it that way, I think appropriately respects Jimmy, but also ties in, you know, a much broader history, so people don't forget that.
Thank you.
I just worry it looks a little busy. That's it. And I'm not opposed to it. I'm just worried it looks a little busy. And we do have a timeline at the library, so we'll be duplicating the timeline, which is okay.
Remember,
it's okay if we feel we want to put one at City Hall.
You're really not going to see it from this aspect. This is up pretty high looking down at it. So
If it would be helpful to see a rendering from a different angle, we could certainly do that.
yeah, when you're down there, you won't really see it as much as you're seeing it now looking from a higher elevation, I think. I just love seeing the kids run from one date to the next at the library.
You like it,
I like it, yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of cinch it up a little bit. I think we're good with the bench and the granite monument. I think we're seeing a theme, Mr. City Manager, an overall master plan where we're looking at a timeline. But you'll bring that back for further review if everybody's correct, okay? Help me out. I think we agreed on the bench aspect of it. What more do we need to talk about? What more do we need to add to this? Mr. City Manager, anything more you'd like to see as far as?
Can we put the rendering back up of the bench? I just want to make sure I understand. The one that was preferred concept was the lower right?
Negative. The
Upper left?
Upper left.
Upper left, okay. And configured that way, the bench and the granite, just as it's shown there?
I'd like to get an idea of the scale. See, what we're seeing there is a depiction of a rendering of Jimmy on the Rock. Can you get everything, Jimmy on the Rock? Okay, yeah. Can you get everything on that one? Or when I saw some other examples that were talking about having more than one, I think it probably would be good to try to keep it to one stone, just for continuity and consistency for the future, if we can do that. So I don't know what the scale of that stone is as it relates to the bench as well.
Looks like it's pretty big.
It's roughly, very ballpark, 3.5 feet tall at the highest point along the back, and the width would be about 4.5 to 5 feet. But this was an extremely rough, purely conceptual drawing. We can design it however you'd like.
Pa, you wanted to say something?
Yes,
By
Sonny
the
boy.
way, I call him Pa because at the end of October he's going to be 70 years old. So, and he told me not to call him dude anymore. Okay, so I said, okay, I'm going to call you Pa. So Pa.
Okay, Sonny boy, let me teach you something.
Okay. All right.
No, I just wanted a clarification. So are we talking about the granite and the plaque as the honor that we're bestowing on Jimmy Moore and his legacy, and the timeline something different, or are they connected?
That's what I'm hearing, that it's different.
Okay,
I think it's just
I think it should
just
be if we're gonna do
because,
both.
yeah,
Okay.
just for fun.
Yeah. And so if you can bring back something a little bit more depictive of the scale of how this will look,
Because that's really big.
yeah.
Really
And then also
big.
something a little bit more depictive on the timeline. I think what we're hearing, and you guys weigh in, that we want to do a timeline, but we don't want the timeline to, obscure the beauty of City Hall.
Right, we don't need it to overwhelm.
Yeah, overwhelm, exactly. So it should be something very subtle, but something, as you described, that people can get into and look at. And if you go to the one at Ronald Roberts Library, it's pretty cool, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the one at the library, as I recall, goes, way back. Are we
Way
talking
back.
about just cityhood history here, starting with the Jimmy's effort and Peg's effort and others for cityhood, or are we talking about going back to the year one?
I recommend cityhood up until today's date.
Well, there's not that much timeline. I mean, relatively, it's only 27 years. And then you'd have to depict what happened between then and now, which
We'll
of
have to-
significance, there's some, but
We'll have
not
to
a
pick,
whole lot.
we'll have to pick the milestones.
I think there's a lot.
And there could also be one plaque by itself that represents the future. Instead of putting a date on it, it's just like one by itself. So that way, we don't have to try to worry about when does it stop.
Oh, but maybe staff could come up with some timeline, versions for us that sort of help break out the city's history a couple different ways and
Absolutely.
let us take.
And the font that's used and the graphics that are used will make it either feel huge and overwhelming or, not so overwhelming.
Right.
I think we got enough to go forward with the Jimmy Moore component and bring back the other piece separately if we need to.
Can we talk about the geometry of it for a moment?
We can. How many sides on the
Is
square?
it square? I think it's square.
They drew a square there.
This slide was originally labeled the Founders Square Quadrilaterals in your honor.
Well, and
Thank you.
I do want to bring up one other thing, is that we are naming it Founders Square. So I think that's what I'm hearing here. So it's depicting founders. Who else is honored in Founders Square? Or is it just the name?
That's a good point.
name.
Or,
There's
or
only
is it just,
Good point.
or is it just the name? I like the name, but I don't know that it sets the tone or the theme of what we're trying to do.
I think once we put Jimmy there and we memorialize him there and we leave a place for others to follow, I don't think we necessarily have to call it Founders Square. I think people may give it that name, but the founder is there. And once we place the marker there and honor him as the founder, I think that says it all. And it can still be Civic Center Plaza, and the founder is
Maybe we just give that a
there.
little more thought. I don't
Yeah.
think we need to decide on it today.
Maybe when it comes back, we should have a discussion.
In fact, maybe the Community Service Commission could take up that issue, and just sort of knock that around. We want the square to be named something. It should depict something. I don't know that we're going to recognize every founder in Founder Square, so it needs to be broader than just founder.
Yeah, and it needs to depict
What is a
Temecula
founder?
history.
What is a founder?
Where's the name in
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
And, oh, by the way, it was 48 by 50.
I noticed, but I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go.
You bet he noticed. You bet. He probably got a staff report and measured it. Okay.
Does Peg and Marsha know the history of why we call Founder Square and Rectangle? Or are they aware of that?
They
I
were
wonder?
here.
Okay,
They
good.
were here, yeah. Okay, I think you got some good direction.
We got it, and I just think the only final thing I'll add, and I think it is relevant, is the area that you chose to construct the bench, have the granite. You walk out there today, the flagpole base, we all know there's a plaque there, and that plaque is the incorporation committee and who was responsible for that. So we're essentially improving the area that today has the name of Mr. Jimmy Moore, and we're taking it to a new level. So I just think that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
And that plaque should be elevated a little bit too, so you can't see it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're good. Thank you
Thank
for a
you.
good staff report and good discussion.
Thank you.
Community services.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on in the old agenda here. Let's see here. Let's go to our boards and commissions. Mr. Hagel, Public Traffic Safety Commission. Sir, what do you got for us, if anything? Okay,
Nothing tonight, no.
thank you. How about Mr. Talicio of the Planning Commission?
My pleasure to announce no significant information to pass on at this time, although we are still depending very strongly on the busy months that have been promised to us by one of our directors.
Yeah.
Excellent. I have a feeling it's coming. Mr. Schwank of the Community Services Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I get the honor tonight to tell you how fantastic the health and wellness fair was. I spent the entire time there on Saturday, and Yvette and Martinez and Carolyn Shaw deserve a huge kudos for putting on this event. They did a great job. Really, all the staff, Public Works was involved, did a fantastic job, the volunteers, and it really was a good event. Our commission actually was involved in it as well, and we put on what was dubbed the Family Biking Expo. And it was, I'll share some individual feedback with you tonight. There was a couple requests from residents who are interested in special needs classes for their children to learn to ride a bicycle or a tricycle. And currently, from what I heard from the residents, is they have to go to the coast. They have to go to San Diego, or they have to go to Orange County for these classes. So I touched base with Yvette, and I'm sure in the future, Kevin and I will sit down and we'll try to figure out how we can do this for our residents, so how we can do a special needs class for kids and put that on through our leisure guide or something like that. So maybe look for that down the road. But it was a really good event. If you attended, you could basically get everything done, any sort of physical things you needed done. So it was a good event.
Job well done. Send on behalf of the City Council back to your commission. Thank you very much for a job well done.
Thank you.
And of course, Hawk, to your staff as well, especially Yvette. Okay? And of course, Charles Walker. And geez, we'll just have to start naming them all here in a second. All righty. How about Mr. City Attorney? You've been silent all evening. Why don't you give us a piece of your mind?
Well, actually,
No, I have nothing tonight. Oh, I do, we did have a closed session and no action report from closed session.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. City Manager, give us some of your wisdom.
I have nothing left to give.
Well, as much as we like to stay convened, it's about almost, what is it? It's 8:25, and unless Councilmember, or excuse me, Pa wants to stay any longer, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Move adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Good night, everybody.